Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on this Sunday.
Hey, Josh, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be with you.
Of course. And first off, I did want to ask you your thoughts overall as the information started to come out, and this was another serious attack there on the light rail in Charlotte. We're talking the second one here in a matter of months. What's going through your mind at that point?
Well, obviously, what's going through my mind when I first heard about it was not again. I mean, it was almost unbelievable to think that here we were just a few months removed from really the whole nation's attention was turned to Irina Zarutska, the young Ukrainian woman who was fleeing a war-torn Ukraine, came to Charlotte and was leaving her job when she was stabbed by someone that had been on the streets for, I think, after 14 previous arrests and even doing 5 years in prison. And yet he was back out on the streets and was able to do that. So then when we hear that this individual is an illegal alien who had been deported twice and yet made his way back in and fell under the category of a gotaway and was here in Charlotte, then the other thought that came to my mind is, my goodness, it was less than a couple of weeks ago when everything in the news was about Operation Charlotte's Web, when the Border Patrol was here in Charlotte looking for individuals, making more than 400 arrests that have been made. And many of our elected leaders in Charlotte were really just coming out against the Border Patrol being here. And I was one of the few voices as it was saying, we need to support our law enforcement. And we also need to make sure that everyone understands that they have their own intelligence and they're looking for individuals just like this. And it is a crying shame when we see another tragedy like this that has to get our attention. And I really wish that our local leaders would continue to speak up and support Border Patrol and ICE agents doing their job here in Charlotte.
What do you say to folks and your constituents there nearby who say essentially public transit may have failed them, security may have failed them for this to happen 2 times within a matter of months? What do you say to them?
I think it's a major concern, and I do think that it's trying to be addressed, but it's not being addressed quick enough. I was one, along with 2 other colleagues, sent a letter to the governor just a few weeks ago asking for the National Guard to be brought into Charlotte because of what the Fraternal Order of Police had pointed out, that we were some 270 plus policemen under where we needed to be to adequately carry out policing in the city of Charlotte. We had seen an uptick in crime, particularly a 200% increase in Uptown with the number of murders. And so with these kind of things that were happening, we were calling for the National Guard that had success in Memphis, that had success in Washington, D.C., to be a short-term fix to at least help us so that our police could do their job in a more effective way while there was a longer-term solution being developed. But the governor completely ignored that. He hasn't been interested at all. Some city leaders saying we don't need that. So I think that the citizens need to continue to speak out, and the citizens need to demand that we get this situation under control. Enough is enough, Josh, and I think the citizens are really recognizing it.
And you're looking at some of the video here from the scene. Again, all of this playing out just a couple days ago there on the light rail again. Do you think that immigration enforcement alone can address the public safety risks, or are there going to be additional approaches that are needed?
I think there are going to be additional approaches. Charlotte Mecklenburg just approved a tax increase, actually a sales tax increase, and some of that money is going to be used to build security on the light rail, from what I'm being told by business leaders. There's going to take a multifaceted approach to really get crime under control in Charlotte. And I do think that the Border Patrol and having ICE agents do their job is certainly going to be an effective part. I learned in the midst of the Border Patrol being here that it's estimated there's 100,000 illegal aliens in Mecklenburg County alone. Obviously, this gentleman was one of them that needed to be caught. And it's unfortunate that, and I'm grateful. Listen, I'm grateful there was a good Samaritan on board that stood up to him. He was actually yelling at an elderly person and going off on them when this individual stepped in that ended up getting stabbed. But I am thankful that he stepped in and was able to take it at that particular point. Had it been the elderly person, this might have had a very different end in a murder. But right now, This person has been charged with, I think, 5 different counts, including attempted first-degree murder.
When you talk about Good Samaritans, of course, there were a lot of folks who did witness the attack that happened back in August. But there weren't a lot of people, that did stand up. We kind of watched as it played out in the surveillance video. However, this time, as you mentioned, there is a Good Samaritan who kind of stepped up to stop the situation from getting even worse and escalating. What do you say to that person specifically?
Well, to that person that stepped up, I say, God bless you. Thank you for being willing to speak up and encounter it. I think that we need more folks like that. Of course, again, we've seen policies like what happened to Daniel Penny in New York that caused a lot of folks to maybe step back and say, I'm not going to get engaged. And I recognize that. But I think there was a real outcry when, as you mentioned, Irina Zarutska went through what she did, and there were lots of people on the train. Nobody stepped up. But this individual saw an elderly person being verbally accosted by this individual, and I'm very grateful that they were willing to step up.
Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and help discuss this further. Of course, the investigation ongoing, so I'm sure we'll find out a lot more as the days progress. Is there anything we missed, anything you want to make sure to add here before I let you go?
Well, Josh, I just thank you for reporting on this. I think that's something that people are recognizing. And again, we just believe it's important for Border Patrol to be supported, not discouraged by leadership in the city when they come in to do their job. They are our law enforcement, and they're helping get the job done, and I'm very grateful for them.
All right, Congressman Mark Harris there, Republican out of North Carolina. Thank you so much for being here with us. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we are getting reaction, as I mentioned. We read the statement from President Donald Trump, but we're also hearing from Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary. He posted a few statements there on his X page saying an illegal immigrant who was previously deported is now accused of attempted murder for stabbing a man on the Charlotte Light Rail this week. This is just months after the horrific murder of Irina Zarutska. President Trump is right. Enough is enough. We need justice now. Now, as the investigation unfolds, we will keep you posted here on Live Now from Fox. Right now, I do want to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break, but we will have a lot more live coverage on the other side. Stay with us.